So that's the chords I wanted to show you, walking up to the 2. Yo, welcome to another episode of Chord Crush Thursdays. And if you're new to this channel and if you're new to Chord Crush Thursdays, what we do is every week we introduce you to a new chord progression or chord. And hopefully these things help for you to grow and expand your chord vocabulary. So if you don't want to miss out on this content, we do it every week. You can look at some of the past episodes too as well. This is episode number 8, but make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you don't miss out on any future episodes. And also make sure you like the video because it really helps us to grow. I mean, we do the work and all you got to do is hit the like button and it's absolutely free for you to do so. Thanks in advance. It really helps us. I appreciate it. So on the last video, we talked about a walk down to the 2. And let me know if you like that chord progression in the comments where we went from a diminished chord, going from the 4 to the 3 to the 2. And I asked you guys about the key of D flat. How did you like me teaching in the key of D flat? And eventually we're gonna actually hit all 12 keys. But I'm kind of touching on some keys that, you know, what you guys are saying in the comments. So if you want me to do something, make sure you leave me a comment. I appreciate those comments and the feedback and everything. It really helps me to know what direction to move in with future videos. But I've been seeing a lot of people say, yeah, do D flat, do D flat. And then you see some people say, yeah, do the white key. So let me know in the comments, you know, what key you prefer. But we're gonna stay in the key of D flat maybe for a couple more videos. And on this particular lesson, I'm gonna piggyback on what I did on the last video where I showed you a walk down, going from the 4 to the 3 to the 2 in the key of D flat, right? But now I'm gonna show you how you can walk up to the 2. And that takes you to different types of chords. You can do a minor chord on there and there's other options too as well. But like always, before we get started, let's check out the number system and scale. Here we go. Oh! So guys, I'm at the studio, finished recording. The video's getting edited real quick. And I just noticed in the middle of the screen, we have something covering up the keys. So I'm gonna leave it up there just because I feel like the content is too good to do over. But I hope you guys can still enjoy it and see what's going on. So we're gonna leave that there. I just wanna let you guys know that there was an issue with the video after I recorded it, but I still hope you guys enjoy it. Peace. D flat is our 1. E flat is our 2. F is our 3. G flat is the 4. A flat is the 5, B flat is the 6, C is the 7, and then we're back at the 1, D flat. So that's our number system and scale. That's what we use to identify the chord progressions that we're doing. So like I said on the last video, we went from the 4 to the 3 to the 2. That's going from the G flat to the F to the E flat, and the left hand dictates the chord progression, and that works with the scale, all right? So I showed you a diminished chord going from the 4 to the 3 to the 2, and if you haven't checked that out, make sure you check out episode 7, and if you liked what you saw in episode 7, let me know in the comments. I would really love to see the feedback on that episode. But I'm gonna show you how you can walk up to the 2. So on episode 7, we did a diminished walk down to the 2, which is E flat, right? But you can also take the same types of chords and walk up to the 2. So one thing about diminished 7 chords is that you can, a lot of the notes in the chord could actually be their own bass note. So we went from a G flat diminished 7, which is G flat, A, C, and E flat, but I voiced it differently. I put the G flat up here, right? So this is a G flat diminished 7, but I'll just keep it in the simplest form or voicing right here so you can see. We went from the 4, which is the G flat, with this G flat diminished 7. Then we went down to the 3, which is the F, and then we played an F diminished 7. So all we did was take the same chord down a half step, and that's the same as this. But if you notice, we have other notes in the chord, right? We got a C in the chord, we got an E flat in the chord, we got an A in the chord. So one thing about diminished chords, any bass note can be a part of the chord. So basically, every note of the chord can be its own bass note. So we could do this same chord progression, and we can go from the C to the D. And guess what? If you put C in the bass, this becomes a C diminished 7. If you put D in the bass, it becomes a D diminished 7. So any bass note that you put changes the name of the chord. So if G flat is in the bass, this is a G flat diminished 7. If A is in the bass, this chord becomes an A diminished 7. So really, the root of the chord is based upon the bass note. And as you know, if you take one of the notes out of the chord and put it in the bass, it's still a part of the chord, but that note becomes the root. So you have to name it based off of that bass note. So like I said, if G flat is the bass, then G flat makes it a G flat diminished 7th. If A is in the bass, that makes this an A diminished 7th, and that has its own purpose. If C is in the bass, that makes this chord a C diminished 7th. And then if E flat is in the bass, that makes this an E flat diminished 7th, isn't it? That's that church chord. So this same chord that we played on the G flat, going to the E flat, but when you play the same chord over E flat, it can be a church chord or even on a G flat, but it depends on the top note. But that's a whole nother discussion. What I want to show you is how you can take this same concept and walk up to the E flat. So basically in the key of D flat major, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're gonna walk up from the 7, but when you do a diminished walk up to the 2, what's gonna end up happening is you're gonna go from the 7, and then you're gonna actually go to the flat 2, to the 2, okay? So technically we would call this E double flat. I'm not gonna get all technical with you, but we're just gonna call this D. So basically, we're gonna go from the C to the D to the E flat, and notice that the D is not a part of the scale of the key we're in, because we're in the key D flat major, right? So when you play the D, that's the flat 2. So what I want you to see is that you can play a C diminished 7th to a D diminished 7th. So just for reference, a C diminished 7th is C, E flat, G flat, and A, okay? And then a D diminished 7th is D, F, A flat, and B. So what I'm doing is I'm taking these chords and then I'm voicing them differently. So the C diminished 7th, I'm gonna move the C up here, and then I'm gonna move the E flat up here. So it really looks like a G flat diminished 7th over C, but because C is the bass, that's the type of diminished chord it is, a C diminished chord, okay? So I'm pretty much taking this chord up a whole step to the D, right? And I got D in the left hand, and then A flat, B, D, and F, okay? So one thing I like to do with my left hand, depending on how low I am, I like to add a part of the diminished chord in the left hand, okay? And I'm adding the A, because if I add the G flat, that's too low. If I add the E flat, that's too low. And all of these notes are a part of the chord. And you can even add a C, but to me that clutters the chord and the sound up too much. But this is what I have. So walking up to the 2, this is what I want to get to, is the E flat minor chord. So pretty much that's what we're going to end up on, just like we did. Oh, my computer is tripping. Just like we did when we walked from the 4 to the 3 to the 2, right? Well, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going up, but we're going to end up on this same E flat minor 11 type chord. So what we're going to is E flat, B flat, D flat in the left hand, then G flat, A flat, B flat, D flat, and F. That's why I said I'm piggybacking on the last video, because this is a totally different concept, but we're using the same types of chords, but a lot of people don't know that you could do this too as well. You can walk up with diminished chords as well as walk down with diminished chords, and this works when you're going to minor chords, okay? So in this case, this minor chord just happens to be on the 2. But if you really look at it, if you go up, it's like going up the E flat minor scale backwards, right? And if you walk up to it, it's like going up the C minor scale to E flat, okay? So it's like walking up from the relative minor. So that's a whole nother conversation. I don't want to confuse you guys, but some of you who know what the relative minor is, for this case, the relative minor of E flat is C. That's another way to think about it, but I don't want to overwhelm you guys with too much theory. I'm gonna just show you these chords, okay? So basically I'm going from the 7. And how I did that little fill was I slid up to the E flat, okay? And then I went to the D, to the E flat, okay? So where would this be of some use? Well, in a song like Total Praise, let me see. So when they say you are the source of my strength, and I can't sing, so don't judge me, okay? So that would be it. So I just went from the 5, you are the source. So it's like walking to the minor chord, okay? So that's one instance of how you can use it. But another thing that you could do when you walk up to the 2, sometimes you could play this chord, and this is a E flat minor 7 with a flat 5. And you hear this all the time. Or right, in gospel music. So you can use those same diminished chords to walk up to that particular chord. And when I'm playing, when I get to the E flat, instead of playing a minor chord, I'm playing a minor 7, an E flat minor 7 with a flat 5, which is the A. Okay, technically that would be B double flat, but I'm not gonna go there with theory, okay? So this is the chord. So all I'm doing is taking this chord and rearranging it. So you can put the E flat up here. You could play it like this. You could take the G flat, put it up here. So it's a matter of once you understand the notes of the chord, practice it in different ways. So that way, when you're moving with these diminished chords, you can go to any inversion or voicing of that chord on the 2. Okay, so I'm going from diminished. And you can go to that, okay? You can even change the voicings of the diminished. Okay? And then you can go to minor 2 as well. But in that instance, all I did was, and that's another thing with these diminished chords, you can play drop 2 voicings of them. And all I did right there is and I'm gonna end with this after this because I don't want this video to be too long. I got about a little bit more minutes, so I'll go a little bit further. So with drop 2 chord voicings, basically, if we look at a diminished chord, right? So it doesn't matter how you look at it, there's 4 notes in this chord. So when I'm dropping a 2, I'm dropping the second to highest note, right? So if I play this diminished chord like this on the C, right? Look at the chord. I have it voiced with the G flat, A, C, and E flat. But if I drop the second to highest note, that's called a drop 2, and I'm dropping that into my left hand. So the second to highest note is C, and then I drop that down here, okay? So when you do certain movements, I would practice diminished chords and drop 2 voicings, so that way you can practice them. So this is one drop 2 voicing, and I would just do it slow so you can see it. This is another one, so that's dropping the 2 of this diminished voicing and putting it in my left hand. And you don't have to worry about the bass notes, because a lot of times when you do this type of stuff, you're usually using it just as a melody or something to go somewhere else. You can go many different places with it, but the idea is to practice the concept of playing this in drop 2, because I know a lot of y'all gonna wanna just, well, I wanna do something specific. No, get the concept down first, get it under your belt, and then once you really have the idea of being able to play this in all the voicings, and I'll do it slower. Okay, these are just all the drop 2s for that. And then even the other one, the D drop 2, okay? All I'm doing is dropping the second to highest note into the left hand, okay? So once you get that, and you can do it without thinking about it. So the key thing is mastery, being able to do these things without thinking about it, right? And when you're able to do that, and that's sloppy because I'm thinking about it. I don't do this a lot. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. But the idea is to really practice it so you can actually play it how you want to. And I'm just not even really doing anything specific. I'm just showing you how you can go back and forth between those two. But this can become very powerful when you know where you're going to end up. And this is where passing chords come into play, because if you know you're going to go to the 2, right? And knowing that you can go from this diminished chord to this diminished chord, and that'll take you to a E flat minor type of chord voicing. Or if you know you can go from this diminished chord to this diminished chord, and then it can take you to that other minor 7 with the flat 5 chord. Well, it's just a matter of, at that point, figuring out how you want to get to a specific chord. So if you want to end up on this chord, and you know that's on the 2, right? Which is the E flat minor chord with the flat 5, the minor 7 chord, then it's just a matter of and all I did was, and I'm just making it up, but drop 2, and I'm just doing da, 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 da. So it's really up to your creativity at this point, but I just wanted to show you those things, right? So that's the chords I wanted to show you, walking up to the 2. All right, that's it for this episode of Chord Crush Thursdays. Hopefully you enjoyed this lesson. Hopefully I will see you on the next one. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Also like the video if you love our content. God bless. See you on the next one.